Thank you everybody for coming today. This webinar is about our new printer, the RI4000, which we're all very excited about. Just a little brief introduction on who I am. If I can get the slideshow to work here. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, my name is Ray Larison. I'm a senior regional sales manager here at RICOH DTG. I've been working with the direct-to-garment printers for a while now, for like 14 years now. Before that, I was doing screen printing. So I've been in the business pretty much my whole life. So I have a lot of knowledge about direct-to-garment printers and just the business in general. So if you guys have any questions or need help with anything, this is all my contact info here. That's my direct phone line, my email. Feel free to call or email me anytime. This is just like a breakdown of what we're going to be discussing today. We're going to start off with just a breakdown on the DTG printing process, on how, the step-by-step on how it works. And then we're going to get into traditional pretreatment. From there, it perfectly kind of segues into the RI4000, because if you guys aren't aware yet, the big benefit with the RI4000 is that it does not require manual pretreatment. And we're definitely going to get into the details on how that works and what all happens there. And then after that, we're going to talk about some profit margins, your cost per print, ROI, stuff like that. And then we'll talk about some applications, the different substrates that you could print on. I also listed the information for Printed United, which is a trade show that we're attending next month in Las Vegas. So if you guys want to come to the show, we have free passes we could send you. If you're going to be in the area, want to come to the show, it's a great opportunity to see the printer. The RI4000 will be there. We'll be printing with it the entire show. So you can come by, check it out, get a free shirt. And then after we talk about that, we'll talk about the promotional pricing that we got going on the printer. And then lastly, we're going to close it with an actual live demonstration. So I actually have the printers sitting here right next to me. So at the end, we'll actually print a shirt so you can see the whole process and how it works. During the demo part, I'll take some Q&A. So if you guys have any questions throughout the webinar, just write it down, make a note of it. And then at the end, you can just type it in the chat. And I'll answer every question that comes in there. So, but yeah, let's get going. Okay, so this is at the bottom here. This is kind of our lineup of printers, excluding the RI4000. This one here on the left is the RI100. This is the RI1000X, and this is the RI2000. The RI100 is our smallest machine. It doesn't print white ink. So this printer only does pretty much white shirts or really light colored garments. And then the RI1000X, the one next to it here, this one does print white ink. And so what the 1000X does is, like when you do a black shirt with it, what it does is it prints the design in pure white ink first as an underbase layer, comes out, and then goes back in again and prints the color on top of the white. So it takes 2 passes to do a dark shirt with it. And then the RI2000, this one, is similar to the 1000X. It's kind of like 2 RI1000X, one in front of the other in a sense. What the 2000 does is it prints the white base and the color at the same time. So it's almost twice as fast as a result of that. And it also has more automated maintenance. It has auto height adjustment. So a little bit different when it comes to the maintenance on it. But with all direct-to-garment printers, doesn't matter what direct-to-garment printer it is. If you're doing a dark shirt, which is like 99% of the stuff you print, is going to require you to print a white base first. And in order for the white ink to work, you have to pre-treat the shirt first. And so for the majority of stuff you print, I mean, there's some exceptions, but for the majority of stuff that you print, you have to pre-treat the garment first. That's always the first step. So you pre-treat the shirt, you use a heat press to dry the pre-treatment, you put the shirt on the printer, load the garment on there, and then from there, you open the design in ColorGate RIP, which our printers come with ColorGate RIP software. And this is the program that you print out of. The ColorGate RIP is one of the best RIPs in the industry. It's one of the reasons why the print quality is so good. But you open the design in ColorGate, hit print, sends it to the printer prints the design directly into the fabric. And then when it's done, you got to take the shirt off the printer to a heat press, and that cures the ink, makes it permanent so it doesn't wash out. And then that's it. And then it's done at that point. And so with the pre-treatment, most people with direct garment printers spray this shirt with the pre-treatment fluid with a handheld spray gun, like this Wagner here. And in order to do that, you have to have like a well-ventilated area, like a little booth set up. You know, if you're printing out of your house, people are doing this like in their garage or like outside somewhere. And it's kind of messy. It's kind of a pain. It's the reason why a lot of people kind of are hesitant about direct garment is because of the pre-treatment process, that step. You have to manually spray it with the pre-treatment fluid. The alternative to that is a machine that I had displayed here is a pre-treatment machine. The benefit of a pre-treatment machine is that it keeps it all contained inside that box. So there's no like overspray, you know, because like when you use the Wagner spray gun, there's overspray. It kind of gets all over the place. The pre-treatment is kind of like a sticky kind of substance. And so the pre-treatment machine keeps all that contained. The downside with the pre-treatment machine is that they're kind of expensive. They range from like $4 to $8 grand. It's another machine that you have to not only invest in, but you also have to maintain it. Every time you use them, you have to like flush the pre-treatment out because the pre-treatment like gums up the nozzles and stuff like that. So it's just all around a difficult part of the process is the pre-treatment. And so that's the big advantage with the RI4000. There's no manual pre-treatment, which is huge. It's a revolutionary thing. There are some direct garment printers out there that do this, but these are huge machines that cost over $100,000. The RI4000 is the first printer of this size and in this price point to be able to do something like this, where you don't have to do manual pre-treatment. And the way it works is with Enhancer. And so Enhancer is not pre-treatment. Enhancer is its own thing. And it works on both cotton and polyester, which is another huge deal. So you can go from printing, you could put a black cotton shirt on the printer, just straight from your source. You didn't pre-treat it, you know, you right out of a box, put it on the printer. It's gonna print the enhancer, print the white base, print the color, it kicks it out, it's done. You just have to cure it at that point. And so you could go from printing a cotton shirt seamlessly to a 100% polyester shirt without doing anything. It's the same ink, it's the same enhancer. So it makes it really easy to switch between substrates. Another thing about the enhancer is that it's super efficient because it prints it similar to how it prints a white base. It's just printing it in the shape of the design. So like in this example here, you can see this is like a dragon type graphic. It's only printing the enhancer in the shape of the design. So it maximizes your efficiency. Whereas with traditional pre-treatment, especially if you're using like a handheld spray gun, like a Wagner spray gun, that's up to the user's discretion on when they stop spraying. You're spraying like the entire front, you know, and even with a pre-treatment machine, it's pre-treating like the entire front or maybe just a section like the left chest area, but it's basically spraying blocks at a time. And so it's not as efficient as the RI4000 is. All right, and this is like technically how it works. This is a very technical slide, but this is what's going on here. So when RICOH developed this, there were kind of two main obstacles that they had to overcome. One of them was on the enhancer side, and the other one was on the ink side. And so when it came to the enhancer, they had to develop this. The first thing that they kind of had to figure out was how do we make a fluid that can be jetted out of a print head? Because you can't just put pre-treatment in a cartridge and then try to print pre-treatment out of a print head. The pre-treatment is, it damages the heads, it corrodes the print heads, it clogs the print heads. And so it just doesn't work. And so that's the big obstacle that they successfully overcame was being able to actually print the enhancer out of the print head without having problems happen like corrosion and clogging. And then the other problem was the white ink. So once the enhancer's on there, how do they get the white ink to work? And so there's a newly developed white ink in this system that RICOH developed, where when the white ink comes in contact with the enhancer, it kind of has like a chemical reaction where it dries quickly. And it's doing this on the surface of the fabric. And so you get a uniformed white layer. versus ordinary pretreatment. When you sprayed ordinary pretreatment with a spray gun or a pretreatment machine, it kind of gets embedded into the fibers, and as does the ink, it kind of penetrates into the fabric. And so as a result of that, you get kind of a bumpy white layer. So yeah, those were the two main obstacles they had to overcome. That's basically how it works, is the enhancer and the white ink is kind of coming together and drying quickly on the surface of the fabric. And so it's not pretreatment. So that's basically how it works here. And so now this is just kind of a breakdown of the profit margins. This here are the margins involved for like if you're selling at retail. So a lot of people with direct-to-garment printers get the printer because they have their own clothing line. That's one of the reasons why. Another reason why is you would offer the service of printing, so you could print for other businesses, schools, churches, athletic organizations. They could come to you when they need to get shirts and hoodies, stuff like that printed. But this is basically a profit margin breakdown on if you're selling at retail. So the printer, the RI 4000, between the ink and the enhancer on a dark shirt, you're looking at around roughly $3 worth of consumables there. The blank shirt wholesale is usually around $3, which brings your total cost to roughly $6. And then people sell shirts at retail for like $25 a piece. So at that rate, you're making around $19 in profit every time you sell a shirt. And so, if you sold 500 shirts, that's $9,500 in profit. If you sold 1,000 shirts at that rate, that's $19,000 in profit. The margins are even higher on light garments because there's less consumables. So when you print on a white shirt, for example, it's still using enhancer, it's still using a little bit of white just to make it all work properly, but significantly less consumables are being used. So you're looking at around 50 cents between the ink and the enhancer on a white shirt. White shirts wholesale are cheaper. They're usually around $2.50. Your total cost on that's about $3. Again, if you're selling them at retail for $25, you're making $22 in profit. So if you sell 500 shirts at that rate, that's $11,000 in profit. 1,000 shirts at that rate, it's $22,000 in profit. So it just adds up. And then this slide here is kind of your margins on when you offer the service of printing. So you're printing for other people. And this is kind of like a general guideline on how you can price. It just depends really. There's a few factors that determine how much you should charge people to print their designs for them. The biggest one is quantity. So how many do they want? If it's a low quantity, you can charge more. If it's a higher quantity, you start discounting. So that's the number one thing. How many shirts do they want? Or hoodies, or we'll get into the applications. You can do obviously much more than just shirts, but the quantity is number one. The complexity of the design also needs to be considered because it is a digital printer. So it's printing full color. You could print a full color photograph if you wanted to. So if somebody wanted a full color photograph printed or something that has a bunch of different colors and gradients and stuff like that, basically things that a screen printer would have a hard time with, you could really control the pricing on stuff like that. Another thing is placement. So a lot of times people want, a left chest pocket print and then like a full back print. They basically want like a double-sided print, or they want it printed like down the sleeves, stuff like that. Basically for each additional placement, it's really common in the industry to charge an extra $1 to $2 per placement. So I have a couple examples here. This is on a 30 shirt order. If someone wanted 30 shirts, you could charge them about $16 a shirt. Your cost is $3 for the consumables. The blank is about $3. So again, like the other example, you're on it for $6. If you're selling them for $16, that's $10 in profit. On that order, you're making $300. And so this is another thing that just starts to add up. If you get 3 orders like that a week, that's $900 a week or $3,600 a month. If you got 5 orders like that, that's $6,000 per month in profit. And then likewise, here's another example with a 100 shirt order, which is also a common order size, especially for schools and athletics and stuff like that, businesses. If you got a 100 shirt order, you could charge less. Your costs are about the same. $3 worth of consumables coming off the printer, about $3 for the blank. You're in it for a total of $6. Sell them for $14, you're making $8 in profit. So on that one order, you're making $800 and you could do it in a day, right? So if you're doing that twice a week, that's $6,400 a month in profit. So it's stuff like this that really starts to add up. And one of the things I always tell people, obviously it's a business. The more you promote it, the more you advertise it, the more you get your name out there, the more orders you're getting, and the faster you're going to get ROI. Yeah, we've had some insane success stories in the past. We've had people achieve ROI in 3 months before. So it's definitely a lucrative business for sure. All right, so this is all the different applications. You could print on pretty much everything. Pretty much anything flat that you could fit in there, you could do. So these are pictures of that came from our actual customers. So our customers sent these in to show us what they've been doing with the printer. Obviously, shirts is the most common thing, but you can do hoodies, sweaters, these denim jackets, socks, shoes. There's a special attachment for doing shoes. There's a special attachment for doing hats. There's one for doing face masks. There's a special attachment you can get for doing printing down the sleeve. We have a dual sleeve, so you can print 2 sleeves at the same time. Baby onesies, like all sorts of stuff. So you can definitely get creative with it. And that's another, big selling point for you is that no matter what comes your way, you can say yes to it. You don't have to say no, which is very common if you're printing garments in a different method, like if you're doing screen printing or if you're doing vinyl or sublimation. Those are very limited. There's times when people come to you that you just have to say no. You're turning down work and you don't know how big of a customer that could have been, so that's a huge advantage, is to be able to do everything, pretty much everything. So in addition to that, the printer can also do DTF. So DTF, I'm sure everyone is aware, it's very popular right now. It's very popular because it's kind of like the newest way of doing a transfer. But it's a way of doing transfers that uses white ink. So you could do dark garments with it. The only time I would recommend doing directive film, if you already have a directed garment printer, is if you wanted to sell transfers. So there's definitely a market out there of people that just want to buy transfers. They have a heat press and that's it. They don't have any printing equipment and they just want to buy transfers, usually in low quantities, for like their own clothing line or what have you. So you can sell transfers. Another example of when I would use DTF with this is if you did like something small, like a left chest pocket logo or like a custom tag on the inside, like in the back of the shirt, because you could gang them up. You could put a bunch on one sheet. So like say you had to do, 30 left chest pocket logos, you could fit those. You could most likely print that on 1 or 2 sheets and then cut them out and press all those in individually. So yeah, that's just like another product you can offer is DTF. All right, so this is the info on the Printed United. It's in Las Vegas next month, September 10th through the 12th. This is a huge show. Every company is going to be there. It's in several halls at the convention center. We're going to be in the central hall, booth C2161. We're going to be kind of sharing a booth with RICOH US. So they're going to have their huge paper printers in there also. But the RI4000 is going to be there. So if you want to see the printer in person, want to see a print in person, take a free shirt, we could send you some free passes here. I know you guys probably can't, copy and paste that. But if you want to go, just let me know and I could email you the info on it. What is the capacity of the enhancer cartridge? There are other extended versions. So yeah, that's a good question. So the enhancer the capacity is 220 milliliters. And then the enhancer and the CMYK are 220 milliliters, and then the whites are 500 milliliters. So the white cartridges are double capacity. We don't have double capacity enhancer yet, but the enhancer part is pretty efficient. You get a lot of prints out of a set of enhancer. The thing that kind of runs out the quickest typically is the white ink. People tend to run out of white ink the fastest because the majority of stuff that you're printing is white. And when you print white, you're printing more white than you would anything else, including enhancer. But yeah, to answer your question, they're 220 milliliters. And I think somebody asked too if it works on a Mac. Unfortunately, it doesn't. The RIP software, the ColorGate RIP that you print out of, does not work on Mac operating system. We're working with ColorGate to see if we can get that added at some point. But right now, you got to run Windows. So you could either, I usually recommend people that run Macs just get like the cheapest laptop you can find at Best Buy, because all you're using it for is for ColorGate. You don't need like a really high-end computer for it. So you just have like a cheap laptop that just runs ColorGate. You could have it at the printer, and you could print your files through that laptop. Or you could partition your Mac hard drive, but that's, in my opinion, that's a little bit more trouble than it's worth. Do you have to keep the printer plugged in at all times? Yeah, so the printer needs to be turned on all the time. That's a great question, because the printer does auto maintenance. It auto agitates the white ink. So it's doing things on its own to kind of maintain itself. So you need to keep it turned on all the time. We would even recommend keeping it turned on if you flushed it. Because like once you put ink in the system, this is something I tell everybody, especially if you've never worked with a direct current printer before. Once you have ink in the system, there's two things you have to do. You have to actually print with it, and you have to do the maintenance on it. So when it comes to printing, I usually recommend people print like 2 or 3 black shirts twice a week, maybe on like Mondays and Thursdays. Print a few black shirts, even if they're free promotional shirts that you're giving away, just to keep the white ink moving, because white ink, it clogs easier than the color inks. The white ink in the 4000 is like a new chemistry, and it could actually go longer before clogging occurs. But you still need to print with it. You still need to clean it. The maintenance on the machine is super easy. There's a maintenance jig that magnetically snaps onto the printer, and it does the maintenance for you. So you got to do that at least once a week. And then if you know for sure you're not going to print at all for like more than a week straight, maybe you're going to going on vacation or something like that. The machines come with a set of cleaning cartridges. So you would just put the cleaning cartridges in. The machine will do it automatically flushes the ink out of the system, fills itself with cleaning fluid. And then from there, it's totally safe to like not print with it and not do the maintenance, because there's no pigment in the system. And so without pigment in there, nothing can clog, nothing can go wrong. Yeah, so the operating environment critical humidity levels. You do want humidity. That's a good thing for them. You definitely need it in a contained environment. Like I wouldn't recommend it in like a giant warehouse or like a super dry, hot climate. You want it comfortable. Like if you're in basically like an office space is perfect, or in your house or something like that, where you feel comfortable, the printer is going to be good. With the new white ink, humidity is still required, but it doesn't have to be as high as it used to. I believe before the minimum was like 45% on our previous ink. So, but it's even lower than that now. And I could find that out exactly what the new humidity levels are, but it's definitely not as important as it was with our previous white ink. So this person says, hi, I've heard about ink lines clogging and ruining the print heads and causing problems. How is this different in the 4000? So yeah, the clogging happens with not only all direct-to-garment printers, but any inkjet printer that has white ink in it. If there's a print head and there's white ink, they can clog. Even huge $500,000 flatbed printers with white ink can clog the heads, So but it's totally avoidable. The only thing that causes a head to clog, that causes clogging, is inactivity. So white ink gets into the system, it sits idle for too long. The pigment of the white is like a heavy pigment, and so it separates from the water. And when that happens, it clogs. The chemistry with the new white ink, it could go longer before that happens, but it could still happen. So yeah, you just want to make sure that you're printing with it and cleaning it. And as long as you're doing that, you're good. Or flush it. Like if you know for sure you're not going to use it for more than a week straight, you could technically go longer than that, but I would be conservative and say a week straight. Then you would put the cleaning cartridges in and flush it out. And then from there, you don't have to worry about it. So yeah, this person says, I have 2 1000s. Can you show a large area of solid color? You have problems with that? Yeah, and we could definitely do that. I could have our tech support guys do that and send you some like custom samples of just like, we actually just did like a color swatch before it started for another customer. So yeah, we could do that. And you could see, the solid areas is, it's like I kind of said during the demo, it's really all about the white, especially, obviously if you're doing this on a black shirt, you want to have like a nice uniform white layer, which is another big benefit of the 4000 because the enhancer and the white ink is making that bond on the surface of the printer. You get like a uniformed white, which in turn is going to give you a uniform solid color layer. So, but yeah, you should definitely, I mean, you can absolutely get that with the 1000 as well. It would just be some settings in the RIP and some procedural things like pre-pressing it and stuff like that. But yeah, Troy Jenkins, I'll pass your info on and we could do that for you. Same question as Jill. Yeah, that's the thing. It's funny because this is about like the heads clogging and stuff like that. That's a very common thing because people talk about it online all the time, and we get asked about it a lot. And it's it's just the nature of white ink. But again, it's clogging is 100% avoidable. Just print with it, do the maintenance on it. You're not going to have problems. And that's what it's actually funny. We when people buy the printer, you have to go through our onboarding program, which is our training course. We actually make people like sign a document promising to go to the training, because in the training, we explain all that, like what you got to do to prevent that. And it's not difficult, it's really just printing with it and keeping it clean. And the environment too. Like if it's in like an extreme environment, that could kind of expedite clogging. If it's in like a super hot or dry climate, if it's like, if you're like kind of miserable in the room with the printer, that could kind of speed up the clogging. So that's another variable, but the most common reason is that white ink entered the system and it's just sat there for like a week straight, without moving. That's how clogs happen. The printer is available in Germany. Yeah, they got that's actually where Colorgate is based out of too, where the RIP software, the RIP software that we use. But yeah, you can get them in Germany. It's not through us though. It's through there's RICOH. Basically the same thing as RICOH DTG, but in Europe, and they sell it. It took 2 white passes because of 2 things. Because you want a vibrant white, and because when the enhancer and the white ink make contact, it's making like a bond that dries on the surface of the fabric. And it's kind of like setting it up for the second pass of white to be solid, if that makes sense. You just get the best results doing a double pass of white on the 4000. Are there fumes or ventilation? No, there's no fumes. There's no ventilation. It's not like DTF where like you have the toxic powder. It's all super eco-friendly, water-based ink. Most people have them inside their house, super clean. That's another thing that I wanted to mention during the presentation, but I just kind of glossed over it. That's another huge advantage of not having to do manual pretreatment, is that with the RI 4000, everything is a lot cleaner and a lot easier. Yeah, there's no fumes or ventilation. This is a good question. Will RICOH implement a trade-in up program in the near future? I hope so. Right now, they don't do that. I would, because yeah, there's a lot of people that have, like the RI 1000 that want to trade up for it. Right now, we're not doing anything, but I'm definitely going to talk to like our GM and see if there's anything we can do to do something like that. Because yeah, it would be a night and day difference. Like not having to pretreatment, not having to do manual pretreat is a huge deal. It's going to make your life way easier. Did the enhancer have recirculation like white print heads? No, I don't think it does. I don't think it needs to. That's a good question. I can ask, but yeah, because the enhancer doesn't have pigment in it, so it doesn't clog. You can't clog the enhancer. Yeah, Troy, will you be at the expo next month? My partner and I are planning to attend. Yeah, we'll be there. So come check us out. It's in Vegas. It's on the September 10th through the 12th at the convention center. We could email you free passes so you don't have to pay to get in. The 4000 will be there. You can see it in action, and yeah, we'll be there. I'll personally be there too. I'm looking forward to it. Which is the cost of the print? Which is the cost of the print you did? Can you show the program ink cost? Yeah, Aiden, can you pull up the ink cost on the Dragon we just did? Yeah, so that's another great thing about the Colorgate RIP is that it tells you how much in ink you're about to use before you print. So you know exactly how much in enhancer and ink and everything. So it costs, so that print was $2.27 in ink and enhancer. So it's everything. I usually say 3 because our samples that we send out, and this is an image of the shirt here if you guys can see it, but the samples we send out, I think it's a bigger design, and so that one uses like $3, but this one used $2.27. You see that there? And this is a 100% cotton shirt. And we could go from printing this to 100% poly seamlessly. Do we have and this is a poly example. This shirt's 100% polyester. Polyester on it is incredible. This is a huge print too. This would be more like $3. So polyester, 100% polyester. And then this is an example of a DTF. So this is, we printed a DTF transfer on this one and pressed it in. But again, the only time I'd recommend doing the DTF is on smaller stuff like left chest pocket logos or like the tags, like people want custom tags. Because you could print like a bunch on a sheet of film. Yeah, does the print feel the same as the other units? It's similar, but it's a little different because it is different ink, but it has a soft feel. And if you want, Kyle, I could send you some samples that came off it. So you could feel it yourself and you could wash them, see how they hold up. The durability is amazing on them. Yeah, because it's water-based ink, it is a softer feel than like screen printing or transfers. It doesn't feel like a transfer or anything, you know. How much time did it take to print that? The print time, it ranges on the size. Like the size has everything to do with it. That was a kind of a standard size. So you're looking at like but from like the time you hit print to the time it's done, it's like 4 or 5 minutes. It could take longer too if you use like the entire 16 by 20 inch space, which is a huge print area. But usually I usually tell people like a good conservative number on that is about 5 minutes or so from start to finish. 4 to 5. All right, do you guys have any other questions? I saw Dale raised his hand, but I don't see his question in here. Dale, if you're, oh, there you are. Is the operating environment critical humidity levels? It's not. Oh yeah, we answered that one. Yeah, it's not as critical as it used to be because the new white ink. Yeah, you answered. Okay. Oh yeah, that's another good question. What's the temperature and the press time? So it's can I show it? Yeah, 280. 280. 280. Yeah, so it is different. So like I have all the other printers memorized. The other printers are 330 for 90. This is 280 for 2 minutes. 280 degrees for 2 minutes. Is that the same on polyester? Yeah, same with polyester. So you have to do a lower temperature on polyester because you could burn polyester, it like melts. But yeah, 280 for 2 minutes. The hat attachment for the printer is that the one that got discounted? I think it's 450 or 550. Yeah, if you guys want samples, definitely we can send you some samples. Yeah, I think everybody used their email when they signed up, so I could reach out to you guys and send you guys some samples. The foil works, right? The foil, have we tried foil? Yeah, the foil works. Do we have an example? I think we have an example of that. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, here's a foil print that came off of it. It's a gold foil there. Yeah, the foil is a cool application. And the foil is super efficient. The foil only adds like, a 20 cents or something like that to your cost. It's you get a lot out of them. They come in 250-foot long rolls. South America, possibly. There are international dealers, so I could look into that though for you, Pedro. What about upgrading the RI 1000 to use one white ink and one pretreat? What do you mean by that? One white ink? What is the temperature and time difference for the 1000 and the 4000? So the time difference, the 1000, the print time on the 1000 is faster because it's not doing the pretreatment for you. One of the reasons why it takes longer on the 4000 is because it's doing that entire step, so you don't have to do that separately. But the 1000 does a dark shirt in about like 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. Just depends on how big the design is. Versus like the 4000 is like almost twice as slow, I guess. It'd take about 4 to 5 minutes on a black shirt. But again, it's doing the pretreatment, quote unquote pretreatment. It's not pretreatment, it's enhancer, but it's doing that step for you. So you have to calculate that as part of like the time it takes for the 1000. Where do you find the instructions for the foil? I could have our tech support guys send it to you. We have like videos and then documents on how to do it. It's real easy. Oh, for the 1000 operate like the 4000. Is the ink for the 1000 or is this just for the 4000, right? Yeah, the new chemistry for the white is only for the 4000. When you do the sleeves are super easy. So yeah, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can just like lay the sleeve out on the normal platen, like the 12.5 by 18 platen or the 16 by 20 platen. But it's a lot easier to use the sleeve platen. And the sleeve platen's like $125. There's also a dual sleeve, so you can do 2 sleeves at the same time. The sleeve platen makes it easier because in the software, there's like a template that you can line up that matches the dimensions of the platen so that you could easily line up your artwork. Kyle, yeah, this is all US. Yeah. Are you in Canada? We sell directly to the United States and Canada. Yeah, we ship to Canada all the time. Yeah, you could, but yeah, it would all be in US dollars. Can we print on top of embroidery? Um, that's a good question. I don't know if anybody has done that. People definitely combine printing with embroidery, which looks really cool. You know, like people will print like a design and then embroider around it, you know, stuff like that. Um, that's a good question. It should work because the threading in embroidery is cotton, you know, so it should work. I personally haven't tried it though, so I couldn't say for sure. But I do know people combine them and get really, really cool results. The sock platen, yeah. So the sleeve platen doubles as the sock platen. Yeah. So yeah, you just you would use the sleeve platen for doing socks. And same thing with sleeves. Like the big benefit of the platen is that is in the software side, because in the software side you have the dimensions of the platen in the software, and so it makes it really easy to line up where you want it to print. But yeah, you could do socks, and people will do like all around, like both sides of the sock, like print one side, cure it, and then print the other side. Yeah, about the foil and the instructions, that you're right, it should. Yeah, I'll have our tech support guys reach out to you though and get you the instructions on that. The big thing with the foil is to make it work good is you have to print every time you do foil, you have to do a white pass, even if you're doing foil on a white shirt, which is funny. You're printing white ink, a color pass, and then you could press the foil in. When you press the foil in, it's best to have like a high pressure on the heat press. So like push down, like have it at like the max pressure on your heat press. And then when it's done pressing, you're going to be using it at 330 degrees for 90 seconds. So you do like a hard pressure press for 330 and 90. And then when it's done, it's a cool peel. So you got to let it cool off a little bit. Like you don't want to have it really hot. So let it cool down for a little bit and then peel it off. That's how you get the best results with it. When pressing larger images, the timing should be 2 minutes or more. The print time is roughly 4 to 5 minutes, and then the cure time is like 2 minutes. But obviously, when the shirt's pressing and curing, you'd be printing the next one. So you're kind of doing that at the same time. All right. Any other questions out there? Let me show my contact info real fast here. Is this what everyone's seeing now? This is my contact info. So if you guys have, if I missed anything or if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. This is my direct phone line. Feel free to call anytime. That's my email address. rlariston@ricohdtg.com. So this is my contact info there. Well, yeah, thanks again, everybody, for coming. It was nice to virtually see everybody. Hope I answered everyone's questions. And yeah, I could reach out to everybody too if anybody wants samples from the printer, or if you have any additional questions. This is all my contact info here. But yeah, I think I got everybody's email address, so I could reach out to you guys all proactively, just as a follow-up, you know. But yeah, I think we'll end it there. All right, thank you.